Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of HB's Housing Huddle. Bring it in. We are excited to have Tyler Kreis on the first episode.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me here at the Housing Huddle.
Yeah, hey, the Housing Huddle, I think in Texas.
It's a two-person huddle.
That's right, two-person huddle. But hey, everybody that's listening in, hopefully we'll bring it in with us. Tyler's, you're a good buddy of mine. Absolutely crushing it in real estate, and excited to have the representation and the head of TK Realty here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sure what we're going to talk about yet, but I'm excited.
Hey, that's what it's about. I just throw you in the fire and see how you respond, right? Authenticity.
Right. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right, Tyler. So first off, I want to jump right in. So first thing that I kind of want to jump into is, first, how'd you get into the industry? Tell the agents that are listening, the consumers that are listening, how'd you get in?
Yeah, so actually back in like 2018, I had a different job. I was in manufacturer sales. I was just selling random stuff that collected dust to Academy, to Exporting Goods, major corporate offices. Nice. And that job didn't pay me for 3 months.
Oh my God.
And so my wife and I, we had a house, we had bills to pay, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh. And back in like 2014, I had started flipping houses with my father-in-law. Okay. He's the owner of Western Group. Okay. They're a big property management company in North Fort Worth. And he's like, dude, just get your license. And I was like, there is no way I want to HGTV, open doors for people.
Yeah.
And love it or list it. I was like, this is not for me.
You're not $1 million listing selling sunset kind of guy?
No. And he's like, just get your license. So I cranked it out in like 45 days, got it. And boom, that like first year, I sold 18 houses.
That's awesome.
I'm like, okay. I had a 6-figure job. I was like, all right, I like this.
Yeah.
And from there, it was history. Made it through as a solo agent. Before I was a broker, I'd closed around 300 transactions.
Nice.
Decided to open up TK Realty just with what I knew from coming from a boutique brokerage and then also being a high producer. I was like, how can I create a brokerage that has that generic term for agents by agents, but actually mean it?
Yeah.
And that's, here we are, a year and a half later. We've got 12 awesome agents, and we've actually just helped one of our agents launch her own brokerage. So it was fun.
Yeah, it's been super cool to watch you grow. If anybody doesn't know, Tyler really specializes. He's a real producer, by the way, in the North Fort Worth market. So it's something that's definitely very honoring to have you on. But at the same time as watching your team grow, having your agents grow, and seeing them go through life changes and you supporting them, which I think is very unique in our industry.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of scarcity, whether you're a high producing agent or you're a brokerage owner or like a manager of one of these big boxes, right? It's like, okay, we've got desk fees. We've got to fill the building with X amount. It's going to lead to contracts. And a lot of how agents build their business, brokers do too. Mm-hmm. And when you go talk to some of them, it's like, it's very scarce. It's like, oh, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, I want you to just be an agent. Your dream's to build a team, not here, not me.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, hey, like, where do you want to be?
Yeah.
Is opening a brokerage what you want to do? Okay, let's do it. You want to be a high producing individual agent? Let's do it. Or you want to be a team? Let's do it. And that's kind of where my mindset is different than a lot of them, because everybody's going to come and go. Mm-hmm. And it's where you're going to be happy, where you're going to produce, what lifestyle do you want?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to adapt. Mm-hmm. I mean, life is already difficult. That is, and you have to be able to move left or right.
You just had a newborn, so.
Yep, I did. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, right? It's finding the place where you can have the support and the backing, but also be able to run the business the way you want to, whether it's the mortgage side, whether it's the real estate side. Yeah. It's all the same direction. We're all trying to get consumers into homes one way or the other.
Oh, 100%. And while you're balancing family life and living the lifestyle that you want, right? If you're constantly somewhere that is taking you on a different path, that you're miserable every single day and you're not seeing results, well, it's time to check it.
Totally. I completely agree with you. Well, while we're on the topic, let's kind of jump in. So nearly 2 months ago now, you were on stage at Realtor's Edge, which was a massive real estate event here in DFW. It was really cool. I actually got to share the stage with you, which was awesome, but to get to hear your expertise and jump in, let's focus on the agent track for a minute before we jump into things like the NAR settlement and all the adjustments that are coming. Growing a team, right? Mm-hmm. What are things that you look for in an agent? In fact, I have a lot of agents ask me, I'm not really sure what they look for in me. So what is that you look for in the talent?
So for me, I really want an agent who is willing to put in the work, but also that's willing to niche down and go deep,
Mm-hmm.
right? We just consume data, right?
Yep.
And it's really easy when you're not seeing results to go on Instagram or read a book and be like, oh, this guru said this one said this. And the truth is, all of the information we consume will work if you just fit inside that box. So it's really, I want somebody who's going like, hey, I don't really know what to do, and having conversations with them, getting them to narrow down, and then holding their feet to the fire to make sure that their words are meeting their expectations and their results. So I just want somebody who's willing to look at it a little different, put in the work, and then also just be willing to reach out, right? Like our business is isolating. Even for a lender, I'm sure it's isolating.
Oh, 100%. It feels like every day.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people understand when they're getting their license is they are opening a business. They have a P&L. They are entrepreneurs. And it's not like, oh, I got my license, now it's going to come to me. It's like, no, like you have to attract. You need to know how to attract business. You need to know how to take care of your clients or your future clients. And a lot of people have no idea what it's like. They're just like, oh, go door knock, host an open house.
Yeah, you'll get business that way for sure, right? Yeah, I mean, and there's opportunity there, but it's like you said, it's niching down. It's finding where are you custom at, right? And there's a lot of agents that you and I both know that were teachers or, I know one that was, she worked at a bar. And she was like, I just took the business relationships that I built from there. And then she closed like 15 deals her first year, just from relationships she built from the bar.
Yeah. If people know, like, and trust you, dive in and go deep. Like one of the agents who we had here, she was young. She had 6 kids.
Yeah.
Opened her own brokerage now. And she is, if you look at MLS and you poll all the top people, there's over 50,000 individual agents on our MLS, Netris. She's in the top 250.
That's amazing. She's awesome though.
And she is awesome, but it's like people will be like, oh, I just don't know how I'm going to do it. My husband works full time. I've got kids. And it's like the agents who are crushing it, whether they're teachers or they're running teams, they're finding a way. It's not like their kids aren't a crutch. Their kids are part of their story and their kids' spheres are their influence.
100%. And then to have 6 kids and they continue to be in the top 50. I mean, it's something it's honoring, right? And it's something that I know she's proud of, but even her husband now works with her, right?
Yeah.
At the same time.
Dude, it's incredible. And that's where I'm finding the people who are really successful in the real estate industry, they don't really take their crutches or their like potential limiters. They just embrace them. Yeah. And it's like, hey, my husband gets off work at 5. We're going to start showing houses at 5:30. We're good to go. It's not, oh, I can't do this. It's like, they know their schedule. They're going to dominate it. And it's pretty cool to watch. And that, I'd say, time blocking and owning your schedule versus letting your schedule own you is probably the biggest differentiator from somebody who crushes it and one that doesn't.
Absolutely. And it goes back to the point of where you said work-life balance, right? You're setting time for your life because you're also setting specific times for your work, which a lot of people get those confused because like, well, I got to make time for my life. Absolutely. Set your time block. And then this time is when you go and crush it.
And people respect the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
they do.
Like your clients, like a lot of agents who I've talked to before they've kind of embraced it, they're like, oh, I just want to be there. I just want to be Johnny on the spot. And I'm like, but if you know your schedule for one and you slow down and you're like, hey, I can't show this time, but I can show this time. And you have already a solution. It goes a lot longer than trying to frantically panic to get things done.
Oh, I 1000% agree with you. And that was me. I worked 24/7 every single day, Sundays at 9:30. And it was one of those things where I drained myself and it hurt me in my relationships with my family versus when, hey, here's my time. If you're going to go look at homes, here's your pre-approval ahead of time. So we think your offer is, and if we need to make some adjustments, and that's natural, but it sets the positive factor up for what can come from this industry.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that was me prior to me like figuring it out or having a coach that drilled it into me. Yeah. It was, you put like your family suffered. If you do it right, you can do both things and make a good earnings and be able to go travel, spend time and do your thing.
No, I totally agree with you. Oh, all right. So if you're an agent, you're like, hey, this is what I'm looking for. One of the major things that, like Tyler mentioned, is find a way to niche down, right? What are you good at? What are you bad at communication wise? And kind of go from there. Okay. So Tyler, as you know, and you've experienced industry's changed a little bit the last 2 or 3 years, huh? Even through COVID. Yeah.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, sorry for anybody who didn't make it through COVID, but like COVID as a business owner or in real estate created a lot of wealth during COVID.
100%. I completely agree with you. And I look back and I remember during COVID being so completely exhausted, working 80, 90-hour work weeks and the grind. But then I look back at it, I'm like, man, look at the blessings that it gave me for now, what it took. So rates from all-time low to all-time high, right? Or not all-time high, but all-time high in the last 2 decades, right? So, that's the topic of conversation, right? Everyone goes, I don't want to buy a house because I've been doing this. Okay, let's talk from a consumer standpoint. Let's talk about the benefits. What are you seeing as an agent right now? Let's say in the DFW market specifically, of where you've seen success from first-time home buyers, whether they're veterans or experienced investors even.
So like right now in my opinion, it is a significantly better time to buy right now, and really the season we've been in for about 1.5 years. I think this fall is going to be a lot of fun if you're a buyer. And I say that because one, our competition is down, mainly because our inventory's up, right? The supply and demand curve is true. So right now we're sitting at like 5 months of inventory, and we're creeping up. Well, whoever determines a healthy market is 6 months. I still haven't found the source, but that's what NAR tells us. And so
you believe it.
And so like right now I'm like, okay, if you have good credit, you're probably getting into a high 6, mid to high 6%. Historically, I think that's a good rate. But what the story is not telling the buyers is, one, they're not paying over list, and they're negotiating the crap out of seller concessions. If there's repairs on the house that are needed, they're getting done. If they maybe need to be getting done, a good agent is negotiating and getting you a sales credit that you can go use to a 2-1 buy down or 3-2-1 buy down, a permanent. And right now you get a play to where in 2021, there was a lot of people who overextend. They're like, oh, we're going $50,000 over, house appraises 30 short, and then they just spent 30 grand. Well, now you can pay less than you did then, and you can get 30 grand from a seller.
And you can do whatever you want. You're talking about cash. Cash is king.
And that's where people are hesitant. They're like, oh, this. I'm like, well, let's look at the whole picture and break it down. And that's where it comes with a good lending partner like yourself that's able to diagnose it. And then a really competent realtor who's confident to be like, okay, your budget's $525, but you love this $550 house. Well, let's just get it for $525.
And it's happening.
It's happening all day long. And when I said this fall is going to be fun, I think in October, November, December, we are going to hit that like 5.5, 6 months of inventory. This is the first summer we've had in a decade to where our listings are outpacing closings. So this fall, if you're on the fence and you don't have something to sell and you're going to be a buyer, go beat up a builder who's got an end of year.
You talk about people losing bonuses, right? They're wanting to sell
stuff.
You
don't need, you don't have, yes, our offers need to have a win-win for the buyer and seller, but we're going to be able to be very, very buyer friendly.
You could be dangerous. I love that saying. I could be dangerous. You could be dangerous.
You can be dangerous. And my single favorite part of the process is going through and negotiating repairs. I get nerded out on inspection reports. Like last year, our brokerage collected over $300,000 in seller concessions.
Whoa. That's a big number. I did not know that. I actually did not know that data.
Like we dominate in seller concessions because of how we go through inspection reports. This fall, sellers might not like us, but they're going to get their houses sold by our buyers. And then it's on the flip side, right? We get to negotiate better for our sellers too, but this fall is going to be fun.
I completely agree. Plus, what else is coming this fall is, well, 2 major pieces. Number one is it's almost from whatever you read, they're saying almost 100% certainty you're going to see the first rate cut in September.
So far that's what the Fed's saying.
It's starting to lead that way. No one knows, obviously, all those things. But if you're ahead of the curve now, right? People don't realize, they're like, I need to get pre-approved and we need to go buy a house. It's like you can start looking pre-approved a year ahead of time. I've got probably a dozen or so clients that are already pre-approved and like, hey, what do we prepare for the future? Start now. Let's look, get you in contact with the agent. Plus that agent can set you up with
a home search. And like what I even like to do is, let's say your lease is 3-4 months out. And you've got this I call it a buy box, right? Like, okay, I want a 4-bedroom, 2-bath or 2.5 with a pool. Well, build your buy box like 4 months ahead of time, and then take a weekend to go look at 5 or 7 houses for 2 things. Most of the houses here in North Fort Worth and the major part of DFW, the floor plans are the floor plans. Like, doesn't necessarily matter what builder. Most price points look similar. And so you're going to get out there, go look at 7 houses, notice some things that you're going to not like. And then 2, it's going to really reflect on, oh, these pictures don't look like what I think is going to be in person. And so then when you're ready to buy, you're already armed with, okay, I don't got to do that, that, and that. And you're better off. Don't let a buyer's rep agreement scare you off to be like, oh, I can't look until I'm ready. Like, you can look.
No, you can. And that was exactly where we're kind of leading in this conversation, because there's a lot of things that are changing, right? Everyone's going, what do we do because of the election year, right? Historically, 9 out of the last 10 elections, rates have dropped after the election, right? From any political spectrum, that's what you're starting to see. And realistically, I don't see rates going back over 8%. Now, I was wrong about rates going to 8% in the first place, but I don't see that changing. But there's so much benefit, right? And that's also the time of the year, too, where it is usually that slower time of the year leading into that winter time. So like you said, inventory goes up, competition goes down. It's your time to be dangerous.
Yeah, I think it's your time to be dangerous. And rate-wise, like, regardless of where they go, like, if you're getting a really good price on a house and you're able to buy in, do it now, because North Texas, we still have hundreds of thousands of people moving here a month. We still have the most diverse job market in the country.
And growing.
And growing. We're not, like DFW as a whole, we're not dependent on one segment or one industry, which just talks about the health. And if interest rates do pop into the low 5s, high 4s, we're going to jump right back into multiple offers, skyrocketing. There is so much money and sitting on the sidelines waiting to pounce that it's going to go crazy quick.
And it's changing. It'll. But that's what people don't realize is it changes in a blink of an eye.
2021 and 2022, like our crazy market turned off instantly April 2022.
And people didn't realize
And people didn't realize it. I had a particular investor who was buying a ton of houses. So like our buy box was from Alvarado to Denton along 35. So in my MLS search, I was looking for anything that was a minimum 3.2, 1,200 square feet, 1990s or newer.
Perfect.
My box was 23 houses available in that large area in February of 2022.
Wow.
By May, it was 400. By December, it was like 700. That's the quickness of when it changed. And we'll have this inventory, surplus, I think, be evaporated in less than 6 months.
I agree. And it's probably going to change faster than it initially did when rates were low, because everyone's been quote unquote waiting. They talked about, I read a number the other day, there were 7 million people more qualified when rates hit at 5. Right. So you're talking about an incredible amount of people. Plus, you're in a market where people are moving to Texas, right? That's the difference between, let's just say, states like California, for example. In the last week, I've had 3 clients moving from California to Texas. And it's the benefits, right? No state income tax, great retirement, employment, cheaper cost of living. Why do people think that that's going to stop?
Yeah, and it's not going to stop. And I think with what's going on in Texas, or at least the major voices, the goal is to cap property tax, make that burden, right? Like our property taxes by a percentage are some of the higher in the country. So like, it's like, oh, no income tax, but we get it somewhere else. Those are being fixed. But our job market is so diverse, that's never going to change.
It's not.
Especially in DFW.
So I mean, look what's all moved here. Amazon.
It's going to, in my opinion, go a little wild. Once that happens, and and you tell me if I'm wrong, I think the biggest price points that are going to go nuts are 800 to 500.
Yeah.
Because
no, I agree.
because right now at 7% in 800 buyers buying like a 650.
Yep. And then,
But they want an 800.
exactly.
They want what that brings. They want the school district, the neighborhood lifestyle.
Yep.
And they're pent up. They're like, I'm in a house. I can't get it now.
Yep.
The minute they can, that's the second or third house that family's buying.
Yep.
And that's where
that's what you're competing against. That's what people also don't think
and
about.
it's not the first time home buyers you're going to competing against.
Yep.
It's my wife. It's your wife hitting us up going, yep, we're out.
Yep.
Like that house with a pool just came up on a corner lot with 3 cars.
Yep.
We're out.
It's exactly
and it's going
right.
to be instant.
And that's the thing people don't realize. It's like you can only warn people so much, right? And you can just sound the alarm. And my thing is, instead of sounding the alarm, let's, like you said, take a step back and go, let's look at what you're looking for, set you up financially, do that. Plus, the houses that are the 450, 500 range are then going to go to the 600, 650, which is the people that are trying to be those first-time home buyers thinking they can afford the 450. Yeah. It's not going to change because now you got an overbidding price at the 450.
And we can talk about it simply because we just already lived through it. This like 2020 and 2021, like this is like what we did. Yeah. And like, fortunately, I already owned a house. Yeah. If my wife and I hadn't have owned a house yet, it would have been miserable.
I know.
And I do believe, I'm a big believer that regardless of like where your situation is, if you can get into where you own a house versus renting, it will instantly change like your forecast for the rest of your life. Like price points are different, but being a first-time home buyer is still the same. Like my wife and I were able to get into our first house. I think total cash to close was less than 15 grand.
Wow.
We owned it for 5 years. We had 120 in equity that we were just simply able to roll into another house. Yep. And now that house has appreciated another 100. So like you look at your overall like net worth, you were able to pretty quickly amass $250,000 in additional net worth from just living.
Which
we were going to be and we were going to be living somewhere.
Yep.
And now it's your bank account that is just growing. And so if you are like renting now and you're like, oh, I don't know about the rates, or I don't know if I want to pay $300 more a month. If you can comfortably afford it, and I don't want you to stretch, but if you can comfortably afford it and get in now, you're going to reap the rewards 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
I agree. And people think that the $2,000 mortgage payment still exists. It's not. Newsflash, it's not. And one of the bigger pieces that people aren't talking about is insurance, right?
Insurance is a
different beast of a
It's
story
a different
right
beast.
It's hard to. I will tell you.
I love my roofers, but I do blame a lot of.
I would agree.
A lot of this to do with how much it cost roofs and. Like North Texas, our roofs get hit with hail every 5 to 8 years. You just got smoked twice within 12 months.
Within a month, we got smoked twice. Yeah.
I'm not an insurance person. Yeah. I think the policies, the only way to get them down, because the insurance companies are just losing, is a 2% deductible and no depreciation recapture, which then again is going to be what it cost me to pay for a cash roof. Yeah. Yeah, it's about $300 to $350 per square cash price, to where they're going to get about $550 from your insurance company.
Yeah, there's going to be a little money being made there, right?
And it's not the roofer's fault.
Yeah,
it's the system. Kind of, in my opinion, I know this is a tangent, but they all use the same systems. Yeah, there's like 2 of them that give you the measurements. Like Eagle View's one of them. They're going to say this roof is this many squares, and then they all use Xactimate. So it almost doesn't matter what roofer you pick.
It's all
what the insurance company is going to be paying for it is turned in off of Xactimate.
Got it. And then that definitely makes sense. And I'll tell you.
So why would you charge less as a roofer if the insurance company is going to pay every roofer the same?
I mean, I wouldn't. I'd be making my money as a roofer. So no.
So that's kind of where the system. It's like people get mad at roofers. I'm like, well, I would be doing the same.
I can't blame a man trying to make a buck, or woman. Sorry, but no, and I agree, and that's the thing. And like we've seen drastic change. That's what also one thing people realize is not only has mortgage payments gone up because of it or been affected by it, and if you escrow your home, but number two is qualification purposes, right? Your qualification, if you're changing $200, $250 a month in insurance, going from 100 to 150, like Shelby and I's was $125 2 years ago a month, right?
Yeah.
We're paying $250 now.
I'm not looking forward to my renewal.
I'm not either.
I think it's probably going to go from like $2,700 a year to about $4,200. And coverage didn't change. My house didn't change. It's just a risk factor, and
that's changed drastically.
Like you can shop wherever you want, but they're all just using algorithms.
Yeah.
And North Texas, we've been hit with freezes, hail, and high winds.
Not a great formula for success for insurance.
No. Folks. So that is insurance is huge. And then property taxes, we've gotten a little bit relief now.
Yeah.
And you have to have a mortgage officer who is quoting you correctly, so then you don't get a giant escrow shortage.
Yeah, that's a big one. Or a payment shock at the end whenever you're like, oh, you told me my cash to close and my payment was this, but it's like, well, I mean, because we get, I get loan estimates often. They're, hey, here's my monthly payment, here's my cash to close, here's the interest rate. They all told me this. And even agents will go, hey, they told me their cash to close is only $20,000. I'm like, yeah, there's no way.
No.
For a $500,000 house. All right, let's look at this again. And then you go look at the escrow, and they're like $100 a month for insurance and $400 a month for taxes on a $500,000 house. I'm like, let's relook at that.
And that is the biggest thing that we teach our agents, and then I've always done, because the math on taxes is not hard.
No.
You just look at the total tax percentage, you multiply it by what you're purchasing at.
Yep.
What the previous people paid has nothing to do with what you're actually going to pay.
No.
It's going to reset.
Yep.
We're a non-disclosure state, yet our appraisal district always finds out the price that it closes at.
That sounds about right. Yep.
They're like we sign off on papers at title companies that say, oh, we're not going to disclose it, yet magically it appears.
The value next year went up by $100,000.
Yeah. And so like the safest way, have real conversations with with a mortgage provider that actually cares about giving you numbers and not just getting paid.
Yeah. No, and
same with an agent. This is a relationships business for both of us, to where like I've had multiple calls. It's like, hey, I want to trade out of my house. Yep. And I'm like, well, you just bought that 8 months ago. Market's a little changed.
Yep.
It's going to cost you this percentage to sell your house just in closing fees. And let's talk about what you've put in it. We just had one call us the other day, and I'm like, I would love to get the paycheck. I would love to sell you a house.
Yeah, but
you bought it 8 months ago. You've put $40,000 into upgrades. You are going to lose. Like, you'll get some of your upgrade recouped, but this particular case, I'm like, you're going to lose $30,000.
Yeah, it's big. Look at the number there. It's almost 80%. You're killing it right there. I mean, and that's the big thing people don't realize. And funny enough, one of my landscapers, actually, he was like, let's do this to the front yard and do this to the backyard, because this is actually going to help the value of the home. And it's something I didn't think about. I just wanted to throw a check at it and be like, get the backyard done, because it's terrible. And he was like, well, let's take back and look at this, because I don't want you to spend X amount of dollars and then not see that value back in the future. And I was like, oh, you know what? You're right. And I'm in real estate, so.
Yeah, and that's just finding your, like, whatever business partner you're with in this, just being able to trust them and know that, okay, that works.
That does make a little more sense. Yeah.
Because it's like, while all of us are, in this business to make an income to provide for our families, it's also our job to tell you, oh, hit pause. And every time I say hit pause or make a pivot or, hey, build this plan, it's paid dividend later.
Yep. Oh, I totally agree. And I think that's a big thing too, with just bringing value to people's life, right? It's not just in real estate. Like, yes, you bring an awesome amount of value to your consumers, but at the same time, it's bringing value to their life, and that will give back tenfold, in my opinion. So
hands down.
I love it. Okay. Well, last topic before we kind of jump off the dive in here, because you and I will keep going about client relations, everything else. The NAR settlement. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a hot topic, and if I'm being honest with you, I am sick and tired of seeing it all over my Facebook. It's everywhere. Every time I log in, they're like, well, you can't sign this doc. If you're buying a house, you have to sign this document to buy the house. All these changes, right? Let's look at it from a positive standpoint here.
I think it's the best change that we've seen in the real estate industry.
Agreed.
Probably, I mean, for sure, since I got into it, but really in general in a long time, for the one main reason is it's forcing transparency that should have always been there to begin with.
Yes.
This industry is all about having transparent and hard conversations.
Yes.
And a lot of us aren't great at it.
I would agree.
When it comes to, hey, what I'm going to pay you for your job has always been a conversation that in real estate in general has just been pushed to the side or put in the rear of it. This lawsuit was brought up because there was a lot of individuals who were frustrated that they got to the closing statement and they're like, man, I just worked my rear end off for a year to be able to purchase this house and my realtors just made X. Mm-hmm. And it was frustrating. Mm-hmm. And the realtors on that side, in my opinion, just did a poor job providing value, being transparent so that the transaction wasn't smooth. So I'm embracing it for the sole purpose that it's now at the conversation of everything. The days of, hey, buyer, use me, I'm free. Well, we've never been free.
Right.
At the end, when a buyer purchases a house, the compensation for both sides has always been baked into the loan.
Yep. And that is the truth, right? Is one way or the other, it is being paid, right? And it was the same thing for the loan officers though in 2008, right? Yeah. You saw all the hidden fees, golly. And and I hear about it all the time, and everybody goes, well, what are you making on this, right? There's going to be fees. The number that you see on the disclosure isn't ultimately what someone takes home, right? Yeah. You have your broker fee, you got all tech fees, all the whole 9 yards, right? But like you said, it brings back transparency to the floor plan.
Yeah, it brings back transparency. And like, if you truly are a professional in this business and you're operating it as a business, you are showing such a value to the clients through a buyer presentation, through how you're conducting your business, how you're spending money to make money. You're marketing it. You're not just going in and taking cell phone pictures or saying, you know what?
The Android photos.
Or it's like, hey, I don't have time to drive like an hour over there, but good news. I just got an alert from Showing Time or Broker Bay. It's on a combo code. Just go do a self-show. Or, I don't have time to go to that community this weekend. Just go talk. Here's business cards. Go talk to a builder. And there are some times that utilizing those open houses are what's best for the clients because they're at the beginning of their stages. But this is an opportunity that we get to really show our worth.
Yeah.
Show that, hey, this is a business. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited about. The new forms that we updated here in Texas on June 24th, our brokerage has already embraced and enacted. We did not wait till August 17th. It's for the simple reason when you actually go through them, it's like my fiduciary duties to you and in this portion, and here is what my compensation is.
Yeah.
Our brokerage, we don't have a minimum that our agents can take. And I do that for I want our agents to know their worth so well that they're determinate. That might make some older brokerages fall over because they're like, oh my God, what if you made $10 on a transaction and then you get sued later on? I feel like if we're teaching our people to do business the right way, that I'm not going to have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And bad things can always happen, but I'm not going to lead my life or make my decisions on the hope that something bad doesn't happen later. Yeah. And that's how it happens. And like, people want help in this industry.
Yeah.
We have to be able to communicate it.
Yeah.
And so like buyers representation agreements, they've been around in a lot of states, mandatory for a long time. South Carolina, and for sure North Carolina, you could not show a property for like the last 5 years without a buyer's rep signed.
Right. And then everyone's freaking out about it.
People are freaking out. They're like, oh my goodness, this is what it is. But even on the long form, our new one, I know this is boring, but yes, there is a fee and it reads that the buyer compensation is X. But then right under it in 7B, that a lot of people forget, it says your agent or your representation is going to try to get this fee in at least partial or the full amount from the sellers or the listing brokerage first.
Right. And if they can't, then the client is aware of what will be coming past that.
Yeah. And it's a conversation. Yeah. And in some conversations, the buyers are going to be like, hey, I can't do it except for if this, like I totally see your worth. And that's the buyer's agent having the conversation and being willing to set their price.
100%.
It's always been able to set your price.
100%.
I'm not a 3% or die person.
Right.
Like,
I mean, because it's not all about the money to you, right?
no, I want to go help people. And any time that I've had to say discount something, right? The evil word, I've gotten 3 referrals.
Yeah.
I 3x it.
It's paying back tenfold.
And so like there's like, as an investor myself, I cannot walk into a bank with $3,000 and walk out with 7.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But in real estate, through conversations, through helping people, whether it's closing cost or like, oh man, that insurance gap was huge. It just changed your DTI and your payment and it could set you back 12 months. Like, we can get creative. We can go help you.
Totally.
And go do it. And if you're leading with value, it's just going to go.
No, I agree. And I think the big thing there too is this is where the agents that are experienced shine.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they not only know their value, but this is where they get to show why they're so good at their job. Mm-hmm. And it's going to, if I'm being honest with you, and there's going to be a lot of people that might hit me for this. And we talked about this the other day was I want rates to stay higher because it shrinks my competition. I know what I'm good at. I know what we do well. I know what we don't do well at the same time. But at the same time, it's shrinking my competition. In a change like this, right? It might be weaving out those agents that should no longer be an agent because they may not be the best thing for the consumer.
Yeah, I think this is going to help weed out agents who are only in this for their pocketbook.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you are in this to make a paycheck on one transaction, this isn't for you. People are going to be like, oh, this is a high producer. But it's really how I've always came at it. Yeah. And one, it's always what's pushed me because yes, I want to be busy enough to where if I've got to delay or kick a can down the road. So yes, coming at it from that angle. But 2, if you can go and approach it with a client and have those hard conversations to where, yes, that other agent has bills to pay, but if it's best for my client to wait another 30 to 45 days, that's what I'm going to tell them to do. And there's a lot of agents, and reason for that NAR settlement is they didn't kick the can down the road. Yeah. Their fiduciary duty was to their pocketbook and not to their client. Yeah. I'm excited to weed them out.
I totally agree. And it makes the overall industry better. Yeah. You know, a lot of people are freaking out or scared. I'll tell you this, if you're a consumer right now, it's like Tyler said, nothing's changing. It's just it's in the fact of where's the transparency coming from the start instead of things change. Like if you were a loan officer or if you were working with a loan officer and then I changed your cash to close by $10,000 at the end, would you be upset?
100%.
Right. So now we're setting that standard up front at the beginning. Now I'm not doing that.
Yeah. But it's up in the open. And one thing that I like to say is when we're on a listing appointment, our listing appointments are also communicating the value of like, hey, why would I ever pay a buyer's agent? Like, what do they even do? They just open doors. And then it's getting to like have a conversation. And most of the time, I have not had a seller leave an appointment and go, yeah, buyer agents are losers. We don't want to pay them. We don't want anything to do with them.
You don't want your house to sell.
This is a true give or take. Yeah. It's not doom and gloom. It's not, buyers are going to now cost way more to buy a house. Yeah. It's, in some cases, are some buyer's agents going to charge to show houses? But again, it's technically, I'm going to show X amount of houses. I'm going to spend this much money in gas and time and this, and it's okay.
It is. It's setting the standard from the beginning. You're like, okay, hey, here's how we go. And here's where we go, most importantly. Yeah. So, no, I love that.
And the new forms also, what I like is geographic competency is a big thing, especially the Texas Realtors really pushes it. And we used to all just put like DFW area or Texas on our buyers and sellers agreements. And now it's like, hey, what county can we look at?
I didn't know that. So it's
what
specific.
City?
Yeah, I like
it. And it's doing that to benefit the consumer from finding an agent who's actually truly competent in those areas.
Which is big.
Yeah. I mean, DFW, we got 9 million people.
Yeah, and it's growing, right? But the agent that works in Frisco may not know the agent that does a lot of business in Colorado, Texas,
right?
Or know the area well enough to say, hey, this is what it is. Now, there are some who are just great at their expert job. I won't judge anybody who does do that. But it's like you said, it's specializing in this for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And so that's just, again, like I really think the changes in the forms and the way that us brokers are having to have the conversations and train now
Yeah.
isn't to be scary. It's simply to be like, hey, yeah, I don't think how we did it in the past is okay.
Yeah.
The lawsuit had a point, and our new forms are addressing it. Yep. And Texas got on the ball. I mean, having new forms out by June 24th is ahead of the curve.
Yeah. There's some states that are still working on it.
Yeah, they're still worried about it. But like my coach is Wayne Selman, and he's just like, resentment and resistance will kill your business. Mm-hmm. Like if you are looking at the NAR settlement and you're resisting it or resenting it and just going, man, I wish that antitrust state or lawsuit didn't ever happen. Yeah. Like those are people who are going to exit.
It is.
Like adapt, change, move on. It's the new way, and learn how to make conversations, period.
Yeah, I totally agree. Know your worth, right? Bring more value to the table, get better. And I think that's the big thing.
And educate. And if you're at a brokerage who's not like preaching it and like pushing it and telling you how to do it, then find another brokerage.
No, I think that's a big thing. Lots of changes coming in the market, lots of positives that are going to be coming from this as well. Don't see the darkness, right?
No.
That's what I'm trying to tell the consumer, right? Don't see the darkness. Look at the light at the end of the tunnel, and let's keep going. So if you are in DFW, you're an agent, I highly recommend getting in touch with Tyler at TK Realty, because the group is awesome. I know all of their agents have watched their business grow, watched Tyler's business grow. He's always looking to help you get better too. Yeah. So if you're an agent in the area, maybe looking for the right team.
Yeah.
I know a guy.
Yeah. Appreciate it. And yeah, it's just, if you want to really be able to be pushed to take that next step, if you've been sitting in that $2 to $3 million in closings a year and you want more, hit me up. Let me know. I've closed 127 houses in a year before. Yeah. I've been there, done it. And I'd love to have that conversation. So thank you, Hunter, for having me.
Absolutely.
And thanks to anybody who's made it this long, listen to me ramble.
Hey, I love it. No, thank you again for joining us on this episode of HB's Housing Huddle. We will see you on the next episode, on episode 2, coming up here next week. Tyler, my man, thanks for coming on.
Sir, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Good job, Kate.
Thanks.